we're not really a data company. We're like a kind of a middleman so that you can access public data. We have the best response times, the best performance ratings. I don't want to create a security issue.
Hi, this is SerpApi podcast, and today's episode we are here with Ryan. Ryan is customer success engineer, and I am engineering director at SerpApi. Ryan, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Ryan. I'm a customer success engineer with SerpApi for the last 6 months or so. Happy to be here today and address some of the the common questions that I answer in my work as a customer success engineer. I'm excited to get started discussing some of these topics.
Cool. I'm glad you joined. Okay, let's talk about SerpApi, and let's discuss key features and benefits of SerpApi. From your perspective, when customers are asking about SerpApi's key features and benefits, what is the most common answer for that question?
So I usually start with making sure they have kind of a basic understanding of what SerpApi is. So we're a web scraping company. We're scraping public data from search engines, and then we're making that data available through our APIs. A lot of customers might have the misconception that we have just already scraped and collected this data, and that we have it in a data warehouse somewhere, and that we're just serving it out. So I like to clarify that we are performing a live search every time someone hits one of our API endpoints. Some of the key benefits also include taking care of proxies, CAPTCHA solvers, complications that any private developer like trying to create their own web scraping solution would need to navigate in order to succeed. I also like to point out that we cover, I don't know the number of search engines that we cover, but it's quite a large selection, more than any of our competitors, and more than anyone could hope to do on their own.
And speaking of competitors, what is the benefit of using SerpApi over others? Because sometimes people on the internet say that SerpApi is expensive. What is the point of using SerpApi versus other services?
It's a good question. Because it's true that we're not necessarily the cheapest option depending on what you're trying to do, but we have the best response times and the best performance ratings. I can share my screen. We have a status graph, which we are happy to share, that shows both our response times and our success rates. And you can see it's pretty near 100% success rate most of the time. And you can check it for any of the engines we support. This gives you an idea too of how many engines we support if you want to scroll through this list. Another thing that I like to point out is just that, or I should say another kind of related question that people like to ask is, so what about the APIs that Google offers and Bing offers? And I've actually written an in-depth blog post about this. But the thing is that especially Google, but also Bing, don't really share their data in an API form in the same way that they provide it in search results. There's not really a good way to get, for example, search results, organic results ranked in order based on your location. Using a Google API. And Google has this very kind of convoluted pricing scheme for anything else that you're trying to access, where the cost is different depending on what you're trying to get and how many calls you need, and there's specific limits per day. And so we have a much more kind of simple approach at SerpApi, where you just subscribe to a plan, you get a certain number of searches, and you get access to anything that you could access in a live search.
And also we can address another concern. Sometimes customers ask, do we have a data warehouse, data lake? So I want to empathize that we don't scrape data in advance. We scrape data in real time, extract data, archive it on AWS S3 for 30 days, and serve fresh data only.
Yeah, that's an important distinction because I think some customers, because they're using our service to get data, they're thinking of us as more like a data company or a data service, and we're not really a data company. We're like a kind of a middleman, so that you can access public data.
And speaking of status page that you presented, what is like average success rate is about 99.99 or 98, something like that. It's also like important to notice that we have a service level agreement, and whenever, can you tell more about our SLA?
Yeah, so basically we have a 99.995% service level agreement. So that means if a higher percentage than that of your searches fail while using our services, and it's not due to using the APIs in a different way than they're intended, or Google returning empty results for your search because Google doesn't have results for that search. If there's a failure on our side and a number of searches exceeding that number, we will refund all the search credits for that month.
And is it done automatically, or should customers reach out to support?
This is a case where we would need the customer to reach out to support. If you let us know, we'll look into it, and we want you to have your money's worth. We don't have any intention of anyone subscribing to a plan and not getting access to the searches they paid for.
Another concern is legality of web scraping, but we scrape only publicly. SerpApi scrapes only publicly available data, which is legal in the United States. And also we have a USA Legal Shield product. Can you, better, like how to briefly explain it?
Sure, yeah. Just this question is asked all the time. Is web scraping legal? Is using SerpApi legal? And the short answer is yes. Web scraping is legal in the United States. SerpApi is legal. I think this is actually another place where we have an advantage over some of our competitors. Some of our competitors are located overseas. They may find some of their costs are lower operating over there, but there's also some legal complications that can happen elsewhere. Whereas like in the US, it's been established that web scraping is legal. I always try to let people know I'm not a lawyer, so I can't let you know if the way that your business specifically wants to use data from web scraping is legal. However, I can say it's absolutely legal to use SerpApi to scrape public data. And we offer a US legal shield, which means if you find yourself in some situation where you have some kind of legal charges against you for web scraping specifically, we will accept full liability for the act of the web scraping. That's as long as you're not breaking any other laws, of course. That's the caveat, is that your actions have to otherwise be legal, because web scraping is 100% legal, protected by the US Constitution. It's very important to us that we provide that support in any cases where that might come into question.
How searches and credits work? Like how they counted together, how duplicated searches work, what no cache or meter gain, and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is another good question to address here. A lot of people wonder if they're paying by the result, which is not the case. We charge by the API call. So anytime that you send a separate call to SerpApi to get search data, whether that's sending a request for a new page or a new search, it doesn't matter how many results are included in the search. That always costs one search credit. Another kind of related topic to that is some people wonder if they can just purchase a specific number of searches. And the answer to that is that we're a subscription-based company. So for any standard membership plan, you have to commit to a certain search volume per month. But we'll get into some of the other, some of the caveats to that a little later on. I also wanted to add to this topic that sometimes people are wondering about what happens if they try the same search multiple times. Are they going to be charged for a duplicate search? The answer to that is that by default, no. By default, we have a cache enabled that stores your searches for up to an hour. So if you try to perform the same search again and it's still in the cache, it's just going to get retrieved from the cache and it's not going to charge you a search credit. Some people also confuse this with our search archive or our storage of searches for over 30 days. That's a separate feature. What that means is that separate from the cache, after you perform your search, that search is stored in our database for 30 days. You can access it using our search archive API or through the dashboard. And we'll explore the dashboard a little later on too, and I'll show you how that works.
Cool.
And this behavior can be overridden. To return to the cache. We have a parameter, no cache, which you can set to 1 or true in order to be able to send the same search again and get refreshed results from Google. If you're wanting to update your search in some faster time frame than an hour.
Okay. And also, async searches are not cached. So we have async equals 2 or equals 1 parameter, and when searches are submitted asynchronously, it means they are not cached because they are processed differently. And I want to briefly explain how async equals true or equals 1 works. Basically, without this parameter, when users send a request, they wait until SerpApi fetch data, fetch HTML from website with all the needed parameters by using proxies, and then after we extract data, SerpApi returns response to the HTTP client. But with async equals true or equals 1, SerpApi almost immediately responds with search metadata, and then HTTP client that uses SerpApi can, let's say, every second fetch JSON endpoint to check whether results are retrieved or not. And by retrieved or not, I mean if HTML is from the target website is scraped and if data is extracted. That's also another topic, and there are other ways to use SerpApi to improve performance of while using SerpApi. One of them is using threads that are built into any, like in programming languages, or parallelism. Another way, if there is no such thing in your programming language, then we have async equals to parameter, and by using that, you need to use long polling, and it means try to check the results until they are complete.
Yeah, that's the async equals true method of processing is something I always recommend to our customers who want to perform a lot of searches very quickly. Sometimes we get questions about, like, how can I make this go faster? We're already the fastest service you can find, but there are ways to improve performance from the developer's perspective as well.
And speaking of speed, SerpApi also offers Ludicrous Speed add-on. Can you tell about it?
When you enable Ludicrous Speed, you use twice as many proxies, which just enables the responses to return more than twice as quickly, actually. And And we this doubles the cost of a regular plan because we're using twice as many searches, or not searches, but twice as many resources. Ludicrous Speed is mostly helpful for customers who need to access or who need to provide access to SerpApi like directly through their website, or like to make an API call triggered by a user interaction. And then they need a response very quickly so that the user's not left there waiting for a result.
Okay. And we can actually, so I will share my screen. On our status page, we have charts about regular speed and ludicrous speed. And here, response time for ludicrous speed almost always is twice faster, sometimes even more. But here is an average, like average response time for the last 30 days is 2.85 seconds, and this ludicrous speed is 1.48 seconds. Pretty useful if latency is important for this case. Let's talk about throughput limits and what to do with that, because every SerpApi plan have different throughput limit and how to work around that and how to deal with that.
Yeah. So the throughput limit is, besides the number of search credits that's in your plan per month, is really the only limitation we have in terms of how many searches you can make. We don't have an official queries per second limit or anything like that. That's another thing people ask us about fairly often. But so most plans have a 20% limit on the searches you can perform per hour. Once you get up into like 1 million queries or more, that's just fixed at 200,000 searches per hour. Another kind of related note to that is that while we don't have a hard limit on anything smaller than an hour, it can affect performance if you try to dump an extreme number of searches within a very, very short time frame. So that's a case where you might get a warning asking you to like disperse your searches throughout the hour. For best performance, it's good to take a look at your hourly throughput limit and not only not exceed that, but kind of disperse your searches throughout that time frame if it's possible for your use case. I know also some customers are not able to control that if it's like the number of searches is coming from their users on their website or something like that.
Okay. What will happen? What happens if there is a huge traffic spike from customer to SerpApi if they don't spread searches? And also, how is reliable SerpApi in such scenario?
That's kind of a hard one to answer because it depends on a lot of factors. It depends on one, the type of searches that are being performed, as those can be the engine and parameters that are being used put different loads on our system. It also depends on what the spike is, how many searches, and what the time frame is. At a certain point, that's going to become something that we can't support reliably, and your searches might start to get these slowed down or fail. In that case, you might receive an error message warning you to spread your searches throughout the hour.
What happens if SerpApi have a downtime or performance issues? Like in addition to service level agreement, what to do? What customers are doing, or what's best? What is the best scenario for customers in case of SerpApi and downtime?
Yeah, so we want to say we very rarely have downtime. I think we've had like a little bit of downtime, like once in the last year or something, Ilya. But in terms of performance issues of any kind or downtime, the best thing is always just to reach out to customer support either through the chat or by emailing support@serpapi.com. And as soon as you reach out to us, we'll investigate the issue. If it's something on our side, we can absolutely refund any credits that you have lost as a result of the error. As I've said, we want you to get your money's worth. We're not trying to sell anyone any credits that then they can't use. And on a related note, you can also open an issue in our public roadmap on GitHub if you notice a problem, like for example something that you've been scraping consistently for the last month is suddenly not being returned in the results. That's a fairly common type of bug to encounter, not due to any failing of SerpApi so much as just Google's constantly adapting, and so we have to adapt in response, and we try to keep an eye on everything and respond ahead of time, but sometimes that's not possible. So then we rely on our users to let us know. So we really appreciate it when people reach out to us and let us know, hey, this isn't working how I expect it to. And that's something that we'll take care of as quickly as possible.
I want to add that we have tests, we have unit and integration tests that are executing on every commit and before every merge. And also we have functional tests that perform real searches in order to verify the consistency of search results. But yeah, currently we don't monitor every search in runtime for the consistency, so it's done manually either by us or by our customers. And in addition to that, recently our teammate Emirhan have experimented with AI-based parcel only for the Google local results, and the results are pretty impressive. But it's only a prototype. But if you're interested, you can check results and explanation about that in our blog. And also, like you have explained how search credits work, how searches are counted. What if anyone wants more than 20% of their searches be executed within an hour? Like, is it possible to increase that throughput limit, hourly throughput limit?
So that's not something that we can do for our standard customers. However, if you subscribe to an enterprise plan, which I'll go into in a little more depth later, that's something that we can discuss and work something out.
When we provide sometimes we provide sponsorship for educational projects or non-profits projects or like hackathons, but what is the rule of thumb for sponsorship or for offering free search credits?
So when most users reach out to us and ask if we have something like a student plan or a student sponsorship program, what we offer is that we can provide free search credits in exchange for having the student write a blog post about how they used our service to complete their research. And we prefer that that's published on their school or university website or blog. Though sometimes we also have students publish on medium.com. Recently, we have had students of, I want to remember the title of the specific title of the course, but it's an LLM Langchain development course on Udemy. Students who are enrolled in this course can receive some free credits from us in order to use SerpApi as part of this course.
Cool. And when this course started, and did anyone publish their project, or did anyone finish their project so far?
I haven't seen anyone's project from the Udemy course. I would be curious to, though.
Cool. I'm asking because several months ago, Replit.com also had a hackathon about large language models, and that's when Langchain was developed. Like, it was only started to be developed, and Replit also had a course about that, and hackathon, and projects like BagyAGI UI started being developed on Replit, and it was very interesting that several users on Replit and on Twitter hadn't like exactly no following or stuff like that. We communicated with them briefly, and right now, within after several months, they one of the for example, author of BagyAGI UI right now is a partner at venture capital firm, and several months before it, he just started playing with Langchain. Maybe not started, but he hadn't such public reputation. It's cool, and it will be interesting to see similar results for Udemy. And also, recently, Andrew Horowitz, venture capital firm, also published some material, a material about LLM tools for LLMs, and they also featured SerpApi, so it's a great honor for us. So if you are from A16Z and you are watching this podcast, thank you. Let's talk about inconsistencies about Google's SERPs and Google Ads. From what I know, sometimes people are getting confused about that.
Yeah, so sometimes we'll have a case where someone will perform a search with our API, and then they'll just perform the exact same search in their browser, and they'll notice that there's some difference in the results, either in the order of the ranking or the ads that are returned. And what I have to tell these users often is that when Google performs a search from your browser, they're using some factors that we can't exactly emulate, like logged in accounts, cookies, your IP address. However, we can get pretty close a lot of the time using if you provide all of the location parameters. And in terms of SEO rankings or the order of organic results, that is sufficient to replicate the search. So for those users, we recommend adding a specific city level location using GL, HL, and Google domain in their SerpApi searches. And we also suggest comparing against a search in incognito mode versus in a standard browser window, as this can eliminate some of the other things that Google takes into account when they process your searches. In terms of Google Ads, all of the things that I just talked about apply. The thing with Google Ads is that they're can be very hard to predict or control, and that is something that we can't always reproduce consistently. And we still, if you're working with Google Ads, we still always encourage all the specific location parameters and comparing in an incognito window. But we can't guarantee that the ads are going to be the same every time, just because of the way Google decides what to show.
And speaking of SEO and Google Ads, what if our customers want us to help with optimizing for search engines or like doing keyword research? Like, what is our response?
So the first thing I always clarify here is that we can't change search results in any way. We're just performing searches and parsing the information from those searches into like organized JSON. There's no way for us to like directly improve like the SEO ranking of a website. However, customers can use SerpApi to kind of build their own SEO tracking dashboard. We actually have a Google sheet where we do this for ourselves, where we track different keywords related to SerpApi and the rankings for each in different countries. We've also discussed referring customers to SEO specialists. We have some SEO specialists who work with us, who offer a good service. You and I talked about that recently, Ilya. Do you have any more to say about that?
We discussed stuff like that about a year ago when I have noticed that several, for example, Vercel or Webflow, not sure about Webflow, but Vercel offers experts who use their services, and I was curious if we could do the same for SerpApi, because our customers also, one of the SerpApi use cases for using SerpApi is to build all your own SEO dashboards, and our clients are SEO specialists or SEO agencies, and we had an idea about like matching specialists with their potential clients, but it would be too much work and it's out of scope. There's a suggestion, maybe you can check followers on Twitter, SerpApi followers on Twitter, maybe someone from them offer services, but most probably just do a Google search about SEO help. Right now, sorry, no managed SEO.
Yeah, I remember there was a specific customer that we were potentially looking at. I haven't had a chance to look into this since the last time we talked, but this is something that hopefully we'll be able to do in the future, is recommend an SEO specialist for your needs.
Yeah, I know that there is a few clients of SerpApi who are pretty active and on Twitter and in SEO circles, and they have pretty good reputation. So it makes sense to search for SEO help on Twitter.
Yeah. Should we take a look at the dashboard and kind of like do a little tour of the SerpApi website?
Yes.
Does that sound like
great? Yes, that would be great.
So I almost, if I had been thinking ahead about this, I would have maybe set up a way to demo how to...
We can register a new user, just like blank account.
So I just want to kind of give a sense about how to create an account with us. So I'm going to register a new user called blank user. I'm going to use my email address with a little alias, and we'll just generate a password, except I don't want to create a security issue. I don't want to create a security issue here, so we'll just try like copy and paste. No, we don't. We don't allow that, I guess. So okay, and then you have to solve the CAPTCHA. Okay. You then have to verify your email. There's too many parts of this this process that I don't want to show on the screen.
I can assist you. I can So, let's assume that you went through these steps. So you activated email, then on the next step you activated phone number and
the phone number, and then the thing that is a lot of users forget is that they can't they need to select either the free plan or one of the paid plans and click subscribe before the account becomes usable. A lot of users get stuck after they've created the...
Do you share your screen right now?
Yeah, I'll share my screen again. So this is just, after completing the sign-in process. This is the screen that you'll see. So back to SerpApi homepage, we have a dashboard where you can see your API key, you can copy it here. You can also go here, manage API key, regenerate. I'll have to do this again now that I've showed you all my API key. And your billing information is over here. This is also where you can go to subscribe to any plan, is this change plan button over here. And you can see we have self-serve plans up to the Cloud 4M search plan, which offers 4 million plans per month. A lot of people go to sign up and they just see okay, there's the highest one is the big data plan for 30,000 searches a month. And then they reach out to us and the chat asking, do you have any higher plans than 30,000 a month? Yes, we do. We actually can support plans up to 100 million per month if you reach out to us. But without even having to do that step, I think you have to enter your billing information sometimes before you can see all these plans here. But if you sign up and enter your billing information, you can see this Cloud 4M search plan, and everything in between the developer plan and the Cloud 4M search plan. And you can see that these all have throughput, like what we've been talking about. These ones all have 200,000 because they're have over 1 million searches. The throughput on these is all 20% of the search volume. Searcher plan is 100,000 searches, so it's 20,000 hourly throughput. You can edit your profile details here. I'm not sure if we for a while we're not we're requiring the password to be entered in order to change these details. And I know we had a issue open to change that. But if you get stuck in this dashboard trying to change your email or your name, the reason it's not working is that you have to enter your password here. We also have something called extra credits, which can confuse people sometimes. They want to know what extra credits are. Extra credits are something that we can give customers from our side for special cases. Like if for some reason your plan needs to be managed manually, or we need to compensate you for some lost searches, or any kind of special case. And extra searches don't expire at the end of the month, unlike regular monthly plan searches. That's another thing that I forgot to mention earlier, is that because we have a subscription-based model, we can't have search credits that are part of the monthly plan roll over into the next month. That your credit usage is reset at the end of every month. So if you're on the free plan, you've got 100 searches to use, the only number that's ever going to change is this 0 here. It's going to keep going up, and then as you use searches, and then at the end of the month, it's going to go back down to 0. So if you have searches left over at the end of the month, those aren't going to be applied to the next month. Extra credits, on the other hand, don't expire in that way. And we also have this manage plan screen where you can, I think this is just a link to the change plan dashboard. But you can see what you're paying per month. You can see when your plan renews. You can see your credit counts here. You can see whether Ludicrous Speed is enabled. I believe this, you can also cancel your plan if you're subscribed to a paid plan here. This is a free account, so you can't see that. So I don't have any searches on this account currently, so you can't see anything here. Let's do a quick jump to the playground. This is another important thing for our users to see. I just realized that we are almost out of time. So I have a meeting that I have to attend at 9:00. Let's say I just do the default search for coffee, and it's of course going to decide to be slow now.
Presentation time.
Yep. But you can see right here, it's appeared in the Your Searches dashboard, and it's not showing me the time it's taken to complete because it's still performing the search, or I guess it's completed now. So maybe if I refresh this, it'll say, yeah. So that's much longer than searches usually take. But you can also open it up, and you can see the JSON results as well as our iframe here. It's a very similar view to the playground. And you can also experiment with all the different parameters here. You can switch between search engines. You could try our Google Lens API, could try our Walmart API. Playground's a great way to kind of like experiment and explore what SerpApi can do. And sounds like we need to wrap up because unfortunately I have a meeting right now with an enterprise customer, or a potential enterprise customer, I should say. Maybe if we do another thing like this, I can go into some of the different more uncommon customer situations and talk about enterprise benefits.
Cool. Okay, then I will wrap up, and if you need to go, thank you, Ryan. It was very, very valuable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilya.
Okay, that was 11th episode of SerpApi podcast /webinar/workshop. We left several questions to be discussed for the next episode of this webinar. We will discuss enterprise plans, yearly plans, discounts, and downgrades, upgrades, early renewals, one-time payments, and the features that we are going to work on. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being with us. If you have any questions, please let us know. We will live on Twitch, and we will upload this video after edits on our YouTube. My name is Ilya Zub, and this was a SerpApi podcast. See you later.